Today we gather to raise our pride flag in celebration of our community and as a commitment to work towards goals of positive space on campus. My name is Lori Stewart. I'm Manager of Communications for Administration and Finance Departments at Ryerson, but on a volunteer basis, I'm co-chair of Positive Space.
Good morning, I'm Rachel Trezzolo. I'm the Strategic Initiatives and Policy Advisor for the Office of the Vice Provost and Dean, Graduate Studies. I'm the other co-chair of Positive Space.
Something we consider important at all Ryerson events is to acknowledge the territory as a way of honoring and showing respect for the original caretakers of this land. We'd like to introduce Riley Kucherin, an Ojibwe graduate student in ComCult, the Communications and Culture program at Ryerson and York. His research, called Fashioning Reconciliation, is about clothing in residential schools and supporting Aboriginal fashion designers today. He will do the acknowledgement of the land and make a few remarks.
I gotta take this opportunity. Can I get a big Ani Riley on the count of three? Ani Riley. 1, 2, 3.
Ani Riley.
Make wits. I love it. Thank you so much. Riley Kucherin Indishnakas, Makwen Dodem Bijtagong Nishnabegin Dunjaba. On campus, I always humbly introduce myself in Anishinaabewin, the Ojibwe language, and I locate myself in community and place. It's an act of Indigenous sovereignty, an affirmation of Aboriginal presence on university campuses, and it's an act of personal healing. My name is Riley Kucherin. I'm of the Bear Clan from Pick River First Nation. It's just about 3 hours east of Thunder Bay, on the northern shore of Lake Superior, but I didn't grow up on a reserve. I grew up in settler communities, and I experienced racism and violence firsthand, first in Thunder Bay, and then in Caledonia, Ontario. Growing up in small conservative places, I dreamed of the big city, where I could be my true self. I came to Ryerson in 2010 to study journalism, and I loved it. The experience of finding community, I instantly knew I had a home in Ryerson. Championed by some fabulous Ryerson mentors, I've taken an Indigenous turn, and I've re-engaged with my Ojibwe heritage after years of neglect and fear, really. Ryerson's commitment to educate to equality, equity, diversity, and inclusion created the environment in which I could come out as a gay man, and where I can now come into myself as a two-spirit individual. The journey has just begun. I'm here to give acknowledgement to the land that we stand on, and the institution in which we gather. Ryerson University was built on the land that has been home to many Indigenous people fluidly for over 15, perhaps hundreds of thousands of years. We stand on the territory of the Huron-Wendat, the Toon First Nations, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit River. This whole Great Lakes area was subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Treaty, which bound many Anishinaabe, Mississauga, and Haudenosaunee people together to share the territory and protect the land, the dish, which we must all preserve for future generations. This Wampum Treaty predates European contact, but yet all newcomers have been invited into the treaty in a spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. By acknowledging the presence of these people and their spirits, I by no means wish to historicize them. First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people have called and continue to call this land home. By acknowledging the land, I hope to inspire you to create personal relationships with Indigenous peoples so that we may move forward together in a good way. I must also acknowledge the role of our school namesake, Egerton Ryerson, in the violent, assimilationist colonial agenda against Aboriginal peoples. Egerton was a prominent 19th century Canadian who established free and compulsory education, but he also held racist beliefs about white superiority. He can be considered an architect of the Indian residential school system. It's important to remember this and to repeat it at events like these, to remember that Aboriginal peoples have historically been excluded from education in many areas of civic life. And it's important to work for change. We must never erase our past. I celebrate that Ryerson, the university, now supports Aboriginal students in our learning and healing journeys. And I'd like to recognize the hard work of the Aboriginal Education Council, Ryerson Aboriginal Student Services, and the Indigenous Students Association, who also make this campus inclusive for people of diverse sexual orientations, gender identities, and gender expressions. This has been a great honor speaking in front of you. Please enjoy these last days of Congress, and may your pride be beautiful. Chimegwech.
This year, Pride Toronto's theme is Plus. In the words of Pride TO, this theme honors that we are a community of many, of difference, of diversity, and that we become who we truly are when we add it all together. While understanding that one person's lived experience cannot represent any particular group, we should appreciate and celebrate the unique existences of individuals. Additionally, we must continue to acknowledge and address the relationship between racism, ableism, and heterosexism. We need to be honest about these problems and the way they interact with the diversity of the identities within our community.
This year, Ryerson created a new position to provide strategic leadership in equity, diversity, and inclusion. I'm honored to introduce Ryerson's Vice President, Equity and Community Inclusion, Dr. Denise O'Neill-Green.
Thank you, Lori. Oh, it's so beautiful to see all of you out here this morning, this beautiful day. So I just have a few remarks that I'd like to share. And then at the end, I'd like to see everybody wave their flag. So we can do a photo op, right? So as Lori mentioned, I've been appointed to the new role as Vice President, Equity and Community Inclusion. And I have to say that I've been so very blessed to have had the opportunity to work at Ryerson with wonderful people over the last 5 years or so. So as we continue along our journey of community inclusion, I really look forward to working with not only the President, Mohammed Lashmi, the executive team, but everyone who's a part of this wonderful community. In creating this position, it absolutely shows that Ryerson has a commitment to inclusion. And I've said this a number of times, but inclusion may sound like a beautiful, lovely word, but inclusion takes hard work. Inclusion is about shifting the paradigms of who is at the table and who's not at the table, who has access, who has the ability to make decisions, who has the ability and who contributes to what happens with our community. And the goal here is to truly embrace everyone in that adventure of community inclusion. In thinking about that, there is a saying that diversity is a reality, inclusion is a choice. Being inclusive requires more than talk. It requires deliberate action. It involves more than one person. It takes many people. In fact, it takes each and every one of you, along with those who are in the classrooms, meeting rooms, departments, libraries, cafeterias, or mail rooms. Now it's up to each and every one of us to make that very important choice. Positive Space has made that choice on a consistent basis. Positive Space is a long-standing employee community network that looks for and creates opportunities to make campus a safe, welcoming, and inclusive space for people of diverse sexual orientations, gender identities, and gender expressions. And throughout the year, Positive Space has participated in a number of Ryerson initiatives, such as the all-gender inclusive washroom signage, the diversity self-ID, and gender transitioning support for employees. There are also many other community networks that work to make our community inclusive. So I think you're picking up on the theme here, right? Inclusion. That's the key word for today, inclusion. So just again to welcome you to this lovely event and to say your pride is our pride. Happy Pride.
It's like, what does Pride mean? What does it mean to celebrate Pride? So to many people at Ryerson, including myself, celebrating Pride means celebrating the leaps in inclusion that Ryerson has made in the past few years, thanks to the incredible leadership that we have had. Also, Pride can mean acknowledging the privileges that we all enjoy here on campus to be visible, both on campus and many of us outside of campus as well. However, Pride is also a time to acknowledge that not everybody enjoys these privileges. Many people in our very diverse community continue to face racism and marginalization. And it is important to acknowledge that it is a joint effort to address these issues. When you celebrate Pride this year, remember that we're in this together, and it is essential that we continue to strive to create safe spaces that allow all others to bring every aspect of their identity forward. Today, we also want to know what Pride means to you. When you were walking in, you probably noticed a table with flags, and we're asking you to write a message on your flag of what Pride means to you. That might be a letter, or that might be a symbol, or it might even be just a word. So make sure that you please write a message on your flag, and we will use it later on in the month to decorate different spaces across campus. Thank you all for coming.
Not a colorful parade for people to watch, or for politicians or police to mess with. Each year during lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, Two-Spirit Pride Month, we salute the queers of the past and of the present, who fought in the streets, in the bathhouses, and in the courthouses to defend our right to have sex and to express our agendas freely. Pride is a time of reckoning. What can we be proud of? What have we done to make our communities better for queer and trans people? What have we done to address the racism in the queer community so brilliantly called out last year in Toronto by the intervention of Black Lives Matter? What have we done to help queers around the world facing violence and imprisonment? The politics of pride is powerful because it is sexy. Queer and trans people take pride in celebrating sexual freedom by the very political acts of being loud, stopping traffic, dancing in public, and being fabulously dressed and undressed in all our bodily variety, and never, ever forgetting what we are fighting for. Happy Pride.
Pride, to make ourselves visible and to show Ryerson's commitment to the values of equity, diversity, and inclusion.